Now we talk a lot about health on this show, Wellness Wednesday, et cetera. And obesity is a big issue. And so I struggle with balancing, taking away all of the fun with this. And you look fitter than, because you were a little heavier when you were on. I see you on Hell's Kitchen. How do you balance it, Rock? How do you balance being around all of that chicken all the time?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, Karen. And I loved the show yesterday. I forget the Dr. Bass, was it yesterday? I love
Patricia,
that.
Patricia Bass's daughter. Yes. And
yes.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that segment. And she said something that really stuck out to me. And I don't really get in, the health conversation as far as making soul food or black food, what I call black food, healthy, right? People try to hire me and say, can you do fried chicken, but healthy? And the reason being is because we have to be very careful, right? When I look back at my decolonize your tongue apron, we have to be very careful of how we sort of frame what is healthy and what is not healthy, right? I'm going to answer your question. And I don't think fried chicken is inherently, just as it is, unhealthy, right? There's so many factors, lifestyle factors, access, education, that contribute to obesity and unhealthy, right? I have customers that come in 2-3 times a week. I'm not advocating that people eat fried chicken every day. I certainly don't. I taste it every day. But I think that healthy is a lifestyle. I wrote a book on it, as a matter of fact, for cook healthy, 44 things parents should know about healthy cooking for kids. And it's all about your lifestyle. So we don't encourage with my staff. I encourage healthy eating and healthy living. We move, we stretch, we sit, we reflect. It's all about, like you said, like you alluded to, balance. So that's how I do it. It just, nothing is great for you in large and often amounts. And it also depends on so many other factors. So
I love it. And I to watch you, because, for me, the goal is, of course, people living their best lives, but for us to be fully ourselves in the midst of it. And I like what you were saying in Nubia about reclaiming things that now have become, like gentrified, reclaiming, I was just saying chitlins is a delicacy now. We made chitlins dope and taste delicious, even though it's the entrails. Now it costs $35 on somebody's fancy menu. We made oxtails, those people from the Caribbean islands, into a delicacy now that is very expensive. Oxtails are expensive. And chicken now, you were saying when you started your restaurant empire, people were saying nobody's gonna, it's too black. Yeah. And now everybody's got some fancy fried chicken version. Talk about that a little bit, Rock.
Yeah, I'm reclaim fried chicken is my motto, right? So fried chicken, and this is, I want to be very clear. The foundation of fried chicken is more important than the actual bird, right? Than the flavor. Now, no question, I believe I have the best fried chicken ever, but the foundation of how we created that, probably more than likely a Black woman that was owned by a slave master, right, created the fried chicken that we know and love in America. But if you look at the restaurant industry, the big players, the 3 or 4 big restaurants, the billion-dollar restaurants that have influence all over the country and all over the world, there are virtually no players in the fried chicken industry. Now, I find that absolutely fascinating. If you could tell me that pizza, there were no Italian players, or in the fish and chips game, there was nobody from Ireland or Scotland or wherever it's popular over there. Like, there's nobody that's playing in that game that created it or that helped create it. That would be incredible. That would be crazy. So that's the way I view our food. We have to reclaim it. And not just for the, for capitalism, so for money's sake. That's a big part of it, but also it's empowering because, they tried to make, or they've continued to make fried chicken as a tool to demean and destroy us, right? Think about Birth of a Nation and the images of people holding chicken legs and sitting up in Congress, right? That was very intentional, and it worked. That was a very intentional marketing campaign. So there's a reason why they did that. And you see now those top players are something heavy in the fried chicken game. So what I'm talking about is embracing all of us, all of the parts, right? We can embrace the sort of the highbrow stuff, but we also have to embrace, I believe, or at least I'm going to do it, the things that we sort of shy away from, especially Black chefs. We sort of don't want to be defined. Not only do we not participate, we say, oh, don't categorize me as a fried chicken chef. And I find that I understand it because I've grown up in the same environment. But I think we have to be conscious enough to understand that was a trick, and it's time for us to reclaim all of the parts of our rich culinary heritage.
I love it. Reclaiming our thighs. All right. Chicken thighs. All right, you go. Queen Mothers, if you are in the DMV area, it is at 918 South Lincoln Street, Arlington, Virginia. It's located inside La Cucina Cafe. They do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do you ship? Do you send? If I order, can I get some shipped to Jersey, or do I have to drive down 95 to get some of this chicken?
For Karen Hunter, we shipping anywhere she is. So
man, no, for regular people, for everybody, not just me.
Not yet.
Okay, you got so y'all gotta mode. Okay, y'all gotta bring your behinds to Arlington, Virginia, and I'm not mad at that. Your favorite thing on the menu?
It's got to be the classic, which is, and I want to tell everybody about like fresh baked brioche bun, phenomenal bread, toasted, right? A lot of people aren't toasting their buns. We don't deal like that. You got to toast it. Duck fat fried chicken. So this chicken is from Maryland. It's really close. It's just about organic, humanely raised. We're using spices that you know where they're coming from. A lot of people don't know that the spice industry is ultimately unregulated. So you don't know what that red stuff is in that season that you're getting. But here we get our Spain, we get our paprika from Spain, our sea salt from Italy. We're using all great ingredients, artisan flour, and we're frying it in duck fat, right? So it's nice and crispy, and it's great, and it's got that little oomph on it. And the mother sauce and 4 pickles. I'm a pickle fanatic. So the classic is, I could wax on about chicken all day, but the classic is my favorite dish on the menu.
As we are evolving in business, your next move, Rock, because I know Queen Mothers is not gonna be your only thing. And before we get to that though, let me go back. Another queen. I want to talk about another queen, B. Smith. B. Smith actually was on these airwaves in this very time slot. Before she made transition, she had a radio show on Urban View, or what was called The Power, I think it was just becoming Urban View during this time slot. So I literally am standing on her shoulders, and I'm grateful to have done that. But you also, more so than me, had an up close view of what that power looks like and what it looks like to succeed in a space that wasn't welcoming.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I wouldn't be here had it not been for B. Smith. I worked there. I started out as a sous chef, and I got the opportunity to manage the front of the house of the restaurant for a couple of years, and I eventually became the executive chef right before Hell's Kitchen. And I was lucky, and I want to be very clear about this. I thought that the way B. Smith operated, the restaurant group, that's the way the restaurant world operated. That was my first glimpse into upper management. That was my first glimpse into a one-on-one personal relationship with the owner, she and her husband. And I was in for a rude awakening when I left B. Smith. And the reason why that's significant is because they nurtured me. It's just like when you at home with your parents and you don't really understand how good you got it until you go out in the world and you really see like, oh man, I had it great. The love and just the resources and the things that they understood about me, right? It doesn't exist. I try to do it in my restaurant, but the world looks at you different as a young Black chef when you go out there. And B. Smith, and they understood me, and they gave me opportunities that I just simply haven't had in many other places. I've gone on to work for some other phenomenal restaurateurs, but that experience, those 9 years I was there, I was allowed to grow. I was given the opportunity to grow in ways that I can't imagine. And it fuels really how I operate today. And just set aside how graceful and just generous and gorgeous. Like, I know the beauty don't really, but she was just like, when I say fine, B was graceful in every moment, you know, at our meetings, in the face of adversity. I'm thinking about Judge Brown Jackson. Like, she was graceful all the time. And I know I'm not as graceful as her, but I certainly try.
You're rock. You're a rock
Solid.
Harper. So yeah. You're not expected to be as graceful as B. Smith. Tell
Gotcha.
us something about her that most people wouldn't know with
I
your
think, oh, wow. Something about B. Smith that most people wouldn't know. She had a great sense of humor. I think maybe you saw that on television and heard it on the radio. But she,
true. I did that.
yeah, she, I remember one time, she wasn't a pushover, right? She was always, you know, doing it with style, but she wasn't a pushover. There was this one time where this woman came into the restaurant and she complained about, I want to say, fried green tomatoes. We had a phenomenal fried green tomato dish on the menu. She ate, we had four. She ate about three and a half of them and sent them back to the kitchen and said she didn't want to pay for it. I refunded her. Later on, I was talking to B at the bar about the situation. And she said, in her graceful way, Rock, the next time this happens, you tell the guest, I'm so sorry you did not enjoy it, but I'm glad to see that you finished it. Here's your bill. And I said, oh, B is a gangster with it. Because I just thought we were supposed to, the customer's always right. And her mindset was, nah, like, if you ain't like it, you tell us after the first bite. So she had this motherly, this wonderful way of doing and saying things like that. It was a perfect balance.
All right. So on that, where you're going next, because I know a lot of what you're doing, and I was talking to Angie Porter about this earlier. I think it's time for us to stop looking through other lenses to do the things that we inherently founded. Like I look at your menu, I see the macaroni and cheese. We know that macaroni and cheese came out of Thomas Jefferson's kitchen from an enslaved person. We know that the chef that was in George Washington's house ran away, and there were a lot of recipes that came out of there that people take credit for, right? To this day, the fried chicken, as you mentioned, we have this strange relationship with watermelon as a result of the way in which this country has the birth of a nation, because there was a power play with watermelon, with Black people being self-sufficient around the watermelon trade, that they had to demean us around watermelon and make us hate the very thing that was freeing us. And so I know this is why I'm supporting completely, what you're doing, because I know that there's an ulterior motive, which is to free us in many different ways. So I'm just, if you can share anything, if not, that's fine too. Don't, keep it tight.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go long with this, but I want to take my time and just tell you that there is a motive. When people ask me what's next for Queen Mothers, or how, I have mentors that are asking me about franchising and what's the next model and what's the growth. I think that, well, I know what I'm trying to do is grow it in a way that liberates Black people, right? Some of my chef friends that are Black or non-Black don't like when I say this is Black food, right? And with that, I want to own what we created, and I want to own it in a way that empowers us to build community. This is why I love Nubia, is because you all are always remind us that we are the bricks, right? So when I think about my companies, I say, well, how can I bring bricks? How can we all come together? It sounds kind of cliche, but how can we all eat? We are the fire. We make stuff hot. So why should we go to these organizations, whether it be James Beard or these other associations, to stamp us, to give us entryway to these networks or to whatever it is, in order to say, we're legitimate now, or for them to affirm us. So one of my purpose is to empower Black chefs, Black restaurant, Black food and drink people, to own our content, to own our art, and to be able to have agency over it in order to build whatever it is we want to build as a community moving forward. So while I have the best chicken sandwich or the best fried chicken, that's not really, them little lists don't really mean much to me. Them little stars and all that other, that stuff, I'm over that. I'm not on, I'm trying to build something like similar to what James Brown and Mahalia Jackson, what I believe they were trying to do, use something that we created. You talk about watermelon. We were self-sufficient. We were making bread off of that and empowering ourselves. And they said, we gotta demonize that. We have to put that down low. So now we understand the trick. Okay, we see it. So now it's on us. It's on Black chefs, Black restaurant owners, and anybody that says they want to help us, for us to use our power for liberation, for freedom. So when I want to grow this company, it's not just to be the hottest and the best and to be on somebody's network. That's cool if they invite me. That's fine. I'll go. But understand, I'm coming super Black. And at the end of the day, it's helping liberate and free Black people with what we created. That's my goal.
I'm constantly now thinking, this is like consuming my life, of that freedom journey. You know, Tanya Pinkett was on yesterday and we were talking about a myriad things. But one of them was, the ownership, the ownership of the stuff that we do. And it's tough because, Strat Thursday, people will offer you money for your franchise. And I often think, so do you believe in yourself? It's sort of like the opposite of what I said about white supremacy or whatever. I'm putting up air quotes because that doesn't exist. If you are so afraid of competition, you are absolutely telling the world that you're the opposite. So I feel like if you feel like you have $1 billion company or you have $1 billion valuation, why would you take the check? Why would you allow someone to buy the thing that you have, built into? And if they're willing to give you that money, how much is it really worth? And so I get the financial insecurity that some of us are experiencing, and that $1 million or the $3 million or the $5 million that they give you for your company would definitely change. It's life-changing money. But your life-changing money for you individually, if you just waited, would be life-changing for maybe generations of people. And I don't know if enough of us have that selfless, because it requires a sacrifice, right? So you may not get that $5 million check to change your entire life, but the thing that you're building may change the trajectory of all of us. And so I applaud you for doing that, because you talked about, pitching this to people and they're like, well, you have to make it less Black if we're going to give you money. And you're like, nope, I'm going to do this. So, how can we help you? And, what do you need, Rock? Rock Nelson is here. Rock Harper. Why do I keep calling him? Who the hell's Rock Nelson?
I don't know.
Harper.
That's something. So there's a Nelson out there that I need to connect with.
I know. Gosh. Rock Harper.
Well, I appreciate that, Karen. And just one more thing before I answer that. You talk about lens, and I'm curious about our lens. We're caught up in when I say we, Black chefs, for instance, or Black restaurant, food folks, we're caught up in individualism in a way that I don't believe was one of our principles before we got interrupted. I'm doing a lot of research and a lot of internal research and trying to find a connection to what gives me my most power. But I think that the $5 million is not the highest thing for me, right? The highest thing is connecting with my creator and doing what he has for me to do and trying to maintain that connection. So I think once we connect with that or make that stronger, we're better off for it. What we can do, I appreciate you asking. I'm trying to build, I'm an idea guy. I'm in the process of building my own brick and mortar, and I want it to be so many things under one roof, right? I see this restaurant where we're unafraid to be ourselves, but also create media and create, educate, right? I'm teaching in the city in a few weeks with the DC's youth justice system. And I love teaching us, but talk about lenses. through a Black lens, right? You talk about James Hemings and Hercules. When you go to culinary school, I went to Johnson and Wales University, I graduated. Everything is this, when we say classically trained, it's from a European lens. And while I get that, because that's how they're teaching us, what would happen if we apply these terms, for dicing and slicing and this sauce making? If we had a Black culinary school, right? What would that do to, or just infused it, right, with just super Blackness in culinary arts? What would that do to the next wave of chefs in America? So I want to. This is what my restaurant looks like. It's not just a place where we can just eat as much food till we fall asleep. It's not that. It's where we can build community and empower ourselves, similar to what Spice Suite, what Angel was doing in DC. That she shared that space and allowed the Spice Girls to grow through her space, and I'm so empowered by that. So if anyone, you can keep on eating chicken sandwiches, but if anybody wants to build that with me or help me do that, I'm happy to to holler at you.